Hello, and welcome back to Legacy of Leaders, where we interview the brightest and most interesting leaders in the community, and today is no different. I'm your host, Whitney Mincey, and I'm joined by a very special guest, Mr. Brad Klein from Kingdom Realty Partners. Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so happy you're here. So tell us about Kingdom Realty Partners for those that have never heard of you.
Kingdom Realty Partners is a group that is led by myself and my son, Julian, who's 24-year-old, and we're in business together since February. In multifamily real estate. So we operate exclusively in syndications, syndicated multifamily real estate deals. So we buy apartment buildings for groups of investors.
Great. I love that it's a family business.
Yeah.
That's great. So how did you get into this? What led you to this business?
So I was interested in real estate for a long time. I was actually a realtor in a former life for a time. And when we moved into our second home, we kept our first house and rented it out. And so that was the beginning of an interest in rental properties and so forth. And so fast forward many years, we recently started in the multifamily space because we realized there's an ability to scale in that business that you can't do all by yourself with single family properties.
Gotcha. And so for those that may be watching and thinking that they're interested in what you offer and how you help, what's an ideal client look like for you?
So I'm involved primarily with investor relations.
Okay.
So it takes teams of people to pull these deals together. It's not just like one person runs out and buys a $10 million apartment building.
Right,
So
right.
Since it takes teams of people, I'm involved primarily in the investor relations side. So my ideal client would be somebody who has money to invest, $100,000 plus to invest,
Okay.
and is interested in good, solid double-digit returns on conservative underwriting for properties that they'd like to realize maybe a 2x return on their investment in a 3 to 5 year period.
Okay.
And otherwise, it could be somebody who's a property owner, somebody who owns multifamily real estate who would like to sell it. That would also be an ideal client from the acquisitions side to get to know them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I know before the camera started rolling, you were telling us about some exciting things that are coming up with your meetup group. So tell us a little bit about that as well.
Just recently established a meetup group here for JAX. It's called JAX, J-A-X, Multifamily Real Estate Investors. So you can find it on Meetup or on Facebook. And the first meeting's coming up soon, and we're excited to kick that off. It's for operators like myself. It's for bankers, CPAs, attorneys, people who are general managers of people who are into asset management, anybody interested in real estate investing in the multifamily space and everything it takes. So it's really just creating a community of people with a shared interest in creating wealth through multifamily real estate.
And so for those that come to the meetings, what can they expect? Is it just networking? Is it sharing information? What will be happening in those meetings?
Yes and yes.
Yes and
So
yes.
it's both of those things and more. It's really going to depend on what people want. I can tell you what it's not. It's not an infomercial or me selling my services. It's really about creating a group of people. So as they come together, as we learn more about what types of speakers, what types of topics, what sort of education they'd be interested in, we can get that for them. And they'll always be networking opportunities.
That's great to know what it's not for the people that might have been concerned. It's much more beneficial than an infomercial or webinar, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's not about us really. It's about creating that space. Obviously, we'd love to network and do business with people as well, but there's going to be plenty of opportunities for them to network with one another. I'd be thrilled if I heard in a few months that a couple of people got together and did a deal because of that network, and whether or not I have anything to do with it. So it's kind of selfless in that respect.
Great. Well, we are almost out of time, but I've got one more question. As a successful entrepreneur, what would you say the hardest part of entrepreneurship is?
That's a great question. There's these 4 Ds that we talk about. You do it, you defer it, you delete it, or you delegate it.
Yes.
The last one, I think, is the hardest. Delegation, because as entrepreneurs, we're typically just wired to we have to do everything ourselves, and nobody can do it as well as we can personally.
Yeah.
So to delegate tasks, I think learning early on the power of delegating things to others and then overseeing it instead of trying to do it yourself will serve us well.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I completely agree with you. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
If you want to learn more about Brad and Kingdom Realty Partners, make sure you go to thedailynewsnetwork.com. All of his information will be there, and we will see you next time on Legacy of Leaders.